one of my favorite things about this podcast is being able to sit down with guitar builders of all skill levels, experience, style, direction, and hearing their story about where they came from, what they're doing now, the innovation that they bring to the trade as a luthier, and what they want to do with their styles and what sound and what vision that they're going for. Kyle Nelson recently had a chat with me. He's created Northman Guitars out of Minnesota, and he's dipping his toe in the waters and exploring the failures and the successes and posting them regularly on Instagram. And it's fun to watch his progress, and it was great to have a chat with him and hear about his vision and what guitars mean to him. Enjoy.
You're in your shop. Where you're in Minnesota. Yeah. Where exactly is that? Where in Minnesota?
In Moorhead.
Okay. Where in Minnesota is Moorhead?
You know where Fargo is?
Yeah, right on the border there.
It's on the Minnesota side of that.
Oh,
so
no,
I could just say I'm in Fargo, but I'm on the Minnesota side of it. So
that's interesting. I was born and raised, well, not raised, but born in Jamestown, North Dakota.
Yeah. I was listening to your podcast in Jamestown the other day.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that was my uncle.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, and of course, it's getting warmer there, right? Spring is
the grass is turning green finally.
Yeah, right.
Well, it hasn't been that cold this winter.
Oh, really? Yeah, I heard it was an odd one. Like a couple winters ago, man, my uncle's like in the family text going, snowed again today, cold as hell, snowed again today. Yeah. But I heard this winter was a little different.
Yeah, it was, I think I could count on probably one hand I saw negative temps. So,
wow.
Which is absurd for this area.
Wow. No doubt.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you have heating and air conditioning in that place, right?
Well, yeah. Yeah, this is my house. I'm just in my basement.
Oh, cool. Man, plenty of room. Definitely.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, and so, Kyle, you do Northman Guitars. That's your company.
That's right.
Okay.
Where it's usually really cold.
Yeah, right. It has kind of a Nordic Viking feel to it.
Yeah, I just figured out a headstock design a couple weeks ago. I'm just kind of starting with this whole deal.
So, I saw the headstock design on your Instagram.
Yeah.
You've got like three different types of wood layered in there. Yep, there it is. That's beautiful.
Right there. Yeah, it's just right on my bench.
That's awesome. And do you have a website? Are you selling? Is it private sales now?
No. So I don't have a website. I haven't really put out a whole lot of stuff to sell. There was one that I sold. That was about it. But the one I'm working on is going to be for sale. I'm trying to figure out what platform to sell it on. If I use Marketplace or Reverb or whatever.
Reverb. That's a good idea.
Just give it to a pawn shop and see if they can sling it for me.
Oh, man. That'd be like the bottom of the barrel, though. Yeah. Your guitar designs deserve better than that.
Yeah, I figured something better than pawn shop, but
and people can find you on Instagram like I did at Northman Guitars.
I was wondering
your handle. Well, I think you liked one of my posts. And then that's the bait. Once you take the bait, I reach out to you and I'm like, hey, by the way, I've got this podcast I do. So 90% of my interviews are people that I snag from likes and follows on Instagram. Yeah. Very cool, man. And so I do follow. You've got a lot of lumber. You've got a lot of you've got a great workshop there, man.
Yeah, it's a great little space. It goes here. I can just show you. It goes over to there. That's where I keep all my finishing stuff and some books and stuff.
Nice.
Then pretty much right there, it's just a wall. I got a PA system, a TV, and a bench, like a little table.
Yeah. So, yeah. And good ventilation, it looks like, too.
Yeah. I put this hose up. There's an end coming down right here. And yeah, I try not to use it a whole lot because it's not grounded right now. So I don't want to light up my house on fire.
Yeah, right.
I got fire extinguishers too, so if anything gets out of hand, it should be okay.
Yeah, no doubt. So, Kyle, it says that you're a veteran. Tell me about your service, and were you thinking about staying as a lifer, or did you get out and think I want to start building guitars? How did that start out?
So actually, it goes. I was in school for building guitars, and I was looking at the job options and thinking, "Wow, this doesn't pay that well. I'm not going to be able to eat with this." So
that was the Red Wing school.
Yeah, that was in Red Wing, Minnesota, at their Looth Group school. That was my second year there, and yeah, I ended up enlisting there into the reserves, and then I moved back to Fargo for a job. So now I make more money than I did down in Red Wing, and I enlisted. That was 7 years ago, and I'm going to be re-enlisting soon.
Is that Army Reserve?
No, that's a Navy Reserve.
Navy Reserve, fascinating for a guy landlocked in the middle of North Dakota. That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, it's funny when people see us in our blues, they kind of ask, like, "Hey, where's your ship?" And then I get the opportunity to tell them that I actually don't go on ships, that I'm a CB, and they call us dirt sailors. So
gotcha. You're the guys that, I mean, CBs are the underrated branch, definitely, but you guys are the ones that build the bridges and the bar and the stuff that allows the military to function in more remote locations and stuff, right?
Yep. Yeah, we build. The motto is we build and we fight. So it's kind of just up that we build and fight.
Okay. Well, Kyle, thank you for your service, man.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad was in the Army. Cousin graduated West Point, went to Afghanistan. His son is in West Point, following in his footsteps. Military runs in both sides of my family pretty deep.
Yeah, that academy isn't a small thing. That's actually a big deal. So
it really is.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. And so far, no one in the family has been in the Navy, so it's interesting to get that aspect and talk about that.
And you're in
so
North Carolina, is that right?
I am, but I'm originally, I mean, it's not fair to say my family's from there because I'm the only member of my family that lives here. But I grew up in Alaska, moved here way back in '96, and met a girl on the internet back when chat rooms were a thing. And she lived 96, yeah. And she lived in Chapel Hill, and I went, yeah, why not? I'll move to Alaska. Was really getting played out, and I decided, why not? More stuff's happening in the lower 48, so.
Yeah, there's a lot more.
Yeah, and I did take my ASVAB test. I took the ASVAB battery exam, and I wanted to join the Coast Guard. I wanted to, run ships off the coast of Florida and crap like that, and failed miserably. And the recruiter called me up and he said, "You qualified for the Army?" And I was like, one, no, thank you. And two, geez, how stupid do you have to be? Because I didn't even study for the thing. And suddenly I'm in this classroom going, it's 5 a.m. I had to show up for this and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think the Army waved it down to, it was 12 the last time I saw it, but I think they went lower than that now. So,
yikes.
If you're listening, if you want to join the Army, now's a great time.
Yeah, that's right. It says, Kyle, getting back to guitars, it says you want to, on your Instagram, trying to make guitars as American made as possible. Are you running into any, I get that, but are you running into any supply issues? And like, what supply would that be that's kind of, giving you a hurdle? What's really hard to acquire American made?
It's been a ton of hurdles to get through that. So like for instance, here's a fingerboard I'm working on.
Beautiful.
That's not ebony. That's Richlight. Ebony doesn't grow here, so I can't use that because I pigeonholed myself doing that, right? But it's called Richlight, and I guess it's this synthetic material that they use, like epoxy or something. And I would assume it's like epoxy and wood dust. I'm sure it's more than that because I don't know. I wear a mask every time I use it and work with it because I don't trust what's in there. It freaks me out.
Yeah.
And this stuff is really hard. So that's one, just finding fingerboard material. Tuners are hard to find. There's one guy in Ohio, Bob Spurzle, of the Spurzle Tuners. You call him to order. It's fantastic. He's a really nice dude. And I just ordered a set of those. I don't know where they are. They're somewhere. They're gold, so they should stick out. But here.
And your objective is once you find a supplier like the guy for tuners, the Richlight company, you're going to kind of stick with them for your entire brand.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to stick with Richlight because it's really hard to work with. But for domestic woods, there's not much as like hard, good fingerboard wood. I could use maple. But I just don't like the way maple looks. I don't like finished fingerboards. They just kind of feel weird to me. Yeah, and like some people enjoy them. I get it. Like if you like that, that's good. I don't like playing it, so I don't really want to build it. Richlight for now. We'll see how it works once I get it radius and see if I can actually sand it. Because just cutting the fret slots was tough.
Are you doing Are you doing a compound radius or just one radius across the neck?
I'm just doing one on these. Yeah.
What's the radius that you're going for?
The last one I built was, what was it, 18?
Oh, so you're going for like a shredder, flatter.
Yeah, it's
metal kind of radius.
Yep. And it's easier to work. When you're starting from flat, it's easier to get to 18 than a 14.
Okay.
So it's kind of time sensitive because I don't have a whole lot of time in this room to do what I need to.
Okay.
So that's part of it. And I based my first build in school off of a Schecter.
Okay.
And that's kind of what those are for too, is metal.
I like Schecter. Which Schecter did you try and emulate? Which one did you go with?
The first one, that one, it was C1.
Okay.
C1 Hellraiser.
Okay, yeah.
I got another one of those for Floyd. Yeah, they're fantastic. I got that one 15 years ago. It's still one of my favorite guitars to play.
Awesome. And are you I can actually, now that you mentioned, I'm looking at your headstock design, and it looks like a Schecter headstock kind of style. Yeah,
it's
kind of the devil horn curve at the top kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's kind of based on that. I don't like symmetrical a whole lot.
Yeah.
The wings on it are basically just so it fits in a hanger stand. Because there was one that I built that didn't. It just kind of slips through.
Whoa.
Which isn't great. It's not awesome. And then I don't like telly headstocks.
You don't like the 6-up. You like the 3-and-3 kind of setup.
The last two that I built were 6 on the same side, and I did like that. I just wanted to make a new design for a 3x3. But I think I'm gonna start doing more of this 6 on one side, and maybe
what about the telly
where it's underneath.
What about the telly headstock? Don't you like? What aspect?
It's just how narrow it is right at the top.
Okay,
it doesn't flare out. Looks kind of like a pinhead.
Gotcha. So you'd much rather prefer like a fat headstock, like a traditional Fender from the 70s kind of.
Yeah.
Instead of this tapered. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Or like the Gretsch headstocks are huge. Those fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, more of that style where you got some weight to it.
Yeah. So Red Wing, is there like a campus? Do you live off campus? Is it a daily 8 hour a day? How did Red Wing work?
It's a tech school. So they have like a nursing program there, and there's a welding shop right next to us. And yeah, it's just set up kind of like a normal class. The first couple weeks or month or so, I don't remember. This is like almost 10 years ago now. You go through wood ID, tool safety. Obviously, you definitely need to know that. Like, don't run wood against the grain on the planer. Like, that's just not a good idea. And some people don't know that. But yeah, just general tool safety. Make sure that the tool's off completely before you walk away from it. So like your bench grinder, when you're grinding your chisels, it takes a while to turn off. So you're sitting there for a good 2 minutes waiting for that wheel to stop spinning. But yeah, and then there's the first year it was, and they might do it different now, but the first year we were split into 2 groups because we had a huge class. And we did acoustic guitar like concepts. You just kind of learn about what a guitar is, and then different woods and how they'll sound and bracing patterns, basically everything that you should know to start building. And then there was an electric guitar design class that you design on paper blueprints, right? So you get all your measuring stuff and your little curve set. I'm looking at it right now. It's on my wall. And you just draw out your guitar, like start to finish. You make a full blueprint of it. And then the next semester, you build off of that print.
Wow.
And then the second year is kind of like that. You make your own, but it's in a CNC program. Or not a CNC, the CAD program.
Okay.
And I hated that part. I don't like computers a whole lot. So that was rough for me.
Interesting.
So I don't see CNCs being part of my future on building guitars.
Fascinating. And I enjoy hearing that because it's contrast. I just recently, I don't know if you know Freddie Mercury on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I listened to that episode. That guy's awesome.
Oh yeah. And so there are, and I love hearing that it's nothing against either school of thought, but it's cool to hear that non-CNC is out there as well. This hands-on, crafting without computers, it can be done. CNC is fascinating. I enjoy that. I very much am fantasizing about one myself. But I love hearing that. So you trained on it for your second year of the program and had enough experience with it and still said, you know what, I'm going to take a hands-on approach, more manual.
Yeah, I just don't like the code and all the G code and figuring all that out. It's just, I work a blue collar job to avoid computers. So actually, and with the Navy, they offered me cryptology and networking, which is a computer. Like you're writing code. You're basically they look at the firewall or whatever. This is how little that I know. They look at the guarding gate of the computer and they find the holes in it before someone else can find the holes and get through them. That didn't sound like a fun job, so they gave me a job shooting stuff and turning wrenches instead, and that's fantastic.
Guitar Garage Talk is brought to you by YourGuitarMechanic.com. Setups, repairs, restrings, and more. Whatever your guitar or bass needs, we can get it done. Offering pickup and delivery service in the greater Charlotte, North Carolina area. YourGuitarMechanic.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, I get it. I definitely get it. So, and that's cool. And enlighten me because I don't know anything about the Red Wing School, but is that still out there? Are they still offering that? It's a pretty cool program.
Yeah, I follow their program on Instagram. They have their guitar show. It's soon.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm not going to plug the exact date, but I think it's May 18th.
Oh, man.
The exact date, but it's probably wrong. I don't know. It'd be something to check out. And if you're in that area, go to it. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you went to it, even though it's been 10 years, you'd probably still run into your professors there, right?
Yeah, I know one of them is still there. One retired. The other two I'm not sure about, but I know our finishing instructor is still there. And he did the electric guitar design class at first.
Wow.
He did a very good finishing program. I did it 3 times.
Wow.
My second year, I failed it the first year, so I had to go back for one more class. Wow. And yeah, now I know finishing way more than I would have if I just passed it the first time.
I'm telling you, man, I'm envious, Kyle, because I run a repair business, and there have been a few times where I've had to tell customers, I run out of my house. I don't have a finishing station. So I wish I could offer that. It's something that I would totally love to do. Like if you're fixing a headstock break and you want to make it seamless, refinishing and sanding and all that. I just don't have that capability. And it's also a skill that I one day want to be able to offer to clients. It's a pretty cool level of mastery of the guitar for sure.
Yeah, you need some overhead for it for sure too.
Oof, yeah.
All of your colors that you got to match. If someone's got a crack on it, there's a burn-in stick that you can use. It's just like this plastic stick that you burn and it melts into the hole, fills in kind of with grains and locks them there. And those are all different colors. I didn't really get into doing repairs a whole lot. The time of it, like this is just kind of something that I do on my own on the side kind of deal. So I can kind of do whatever I want. I'm not limited because it's not my main income. It's just a bonus activity. So
yeah, and that's the beauty of it. It's a blank canvas, and you can figure it out as you go. As a solo entrepreneur, I completely get it.
Yeah, the only downside to that is you learn a lot from repairs. You learn what breaks, what holds up, what you shouldn't do. Like putting a Floyd Rose in a hollow body. Probably shouldn't be doing that. Not hollow body, semi-hollow body.
Yeah. That Floyd in a hollow body would be amazing. If you could pull that, I'm sure someone's done it somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was talking to I'm sorry?
Chips in USA. It's on Instagram. They're Chips in USA, and they make a bunch of satire posts on
I should follow them. I should check that out.
It's ridiculous. And they're like the Sky Mall kind of ad. And everything's outrageously priced. Like it's like $23,000 for this pick guard that holds your weed in it or something like that, right? Like just dumb stuff.
I love that.
But
that's awesome.
It's fantastic, and I
gotta check that out.
Just gives you a kick.
Absolutely. So Kyle, you took a year of acoustic, a year of electric. Why did you migrate away from acoustic? I know it's a way different level of craftsmanship. But do you take anything from the acoustic classes over to your electric designs? Is there any takeaways there? Stuff that you held on to?
It's woodworking in general, and I might have explained it wrong. There's one semester that's electric, but there's acoustic built into that. So the first year all year is acoustic, and then part of it is electric. And then the second year is archtop or mandolin, because they're similar enough to teach the same concepts. They both have an arch top. And then there's your custom build, which you can kind of build whatever. Like someone in the year ahead of me built a hurdy-gurdy. I'd never seen one of those.
They're weird.
I got to see one. It was cool. It's like a crank deal. It's crazy.
Yeah. With a huge saddle, like all the strings arc over that rotating wheel.
Yep. It's nuts.
Fascinating.
And I don't know if he made the design himself or if he based it off of one. I'm really not sure, but I remember seeing it and just wondering, like, is that that counts as luthery, right? It's a stringed instrument, so yeah,
absolutely,
sure, it definitely does. Yeah. But yeah, so your question was what made me move away from acoustics. I would love to build acoustics. I don't have the resources in here to build acoustics right now. With just radius dishes and just all of the little detail, like there's a lot of extra steps in building an acoustic. Like an electric, kind of just cut the body out, route out all the holes, make the neck, and put it together. For the very streamlined version of building that.
Right.
Acoustics, there's a lot more steps in between. Like bracing it, and then like an electric guitar, if it sounds good not plugged in, there's a good chance it'll sound good plugged in most of the time. Acoustics, it definitely, that's the whole point of it. So there's a lot more that goes into hearing it as you're working with it, rather than an electric, because you kind of just what I'm doing, I'm just building the electric and be like, well, that sounds right.
Okay.
And like pickups go a long way. So,
and you don't have to worry about bending wood, and you don't have to worry about a lot of gluing with vicing, and
a lot of the tools for it are expensive too. Like I just, for a long time, I didn't have money for a bending iron, and I didn't want to start heating up a pipe in my house to bend wood.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just build electrics instead.
Well, there you go. What goes into what's going to make a Northman guitar unique?
The domestic woods, and not really domestic woods, because that's common, but everything that I get is sourced from America as well as I can find. I can't find potentiometers that are made here.
Really?
Right? Yeah, CTS. Right? Yeah, Chicago Telephone Service.
Okay.
Those are made, I think it's Taiwan. Somewhere not here. And then Borns, I'm pretty sure, are made in Canada, which if we really want to get technical, I could still say they're American made, but it's North American.
North American.
Which also, if I did that, then I could open up to like mahogany, because it grows in Mexico.
Well, yeah.
Some of it does. But
wow.
Yeah, I kind of want to keep it within the US borders. And I asked on Instagram a couple weeks ago, would you consider koa a domestic wood? Because it grows in Hawaii, which is
that's
in the US. A lot of people are like, no, not really. That doesn't count. Like, well,
wow, purist.
Yeah. It's like, so, but then it makes you wonder, most of the spruce that we use for acoustics comes from Alaska. So would that be American? I don't know.
Yes.
And maybe because Alaska is so damn big that it's almost the size of the lower 48 itself. Hawaii is not that size at all. Very small.
But that's in my book American made. Koa from Hawaii is a state. Alaska is a state. They've earned the right to be part of a made in the USA guitar for sure. I mean, come on, how purist do you have to get, right?
That's what I was thinking. So I might just say it and be fine using koa and keep that integrity of it being in the US. And there's StuMac does a lot of good stuff for their sourcing materials, like their fret wires made in the US. Ask them like 3 different times. Everyone I talked to is like, yeah, it's made here. I'm like, cool. Okay. Because Jeskar, another great fret wire, is made in Germany. So that's just been a really interesting journey in itself, finding out where everything's made. So a lot of pickups are made here, which that makes it easy, and kind of harder because there's too many options now. So I started using lace pickups a while ago, and I love them. I think they're fantastic. I haven't heard anyone really talk about them, but I talk about them and I say very nice things. So
yeah, and being I'm a Stratocaster guy, and Lace made some really good Strat pickups, single coils that were Phenomenal.
I swapped out my Squire Strat with lace, and now it sounds like fun.
Absolutely. And are you familiar, Kyle, with the Looth Group online?
No, I heard about it so I work a blue collar job, right? And I listen to podcasts all day.
Okay.
So I was listening to yours, and you guys were talking about that Looth Group, and I was going to look into it, and then more listening happened, and then I forgot about it. So
it might be a good resource for you, a good resource to find out, because potentiometers. So what you're telling me is potentiometers are the one stopping point that you've run into.
That's the main one.
Okay.
I guess strings are made here. I can find bone every fall, so that's an easy one. Whenever you butcher a deer, just save that leg bone. Good.
Yeah. Is that what you're making your nuts out of? Deer leg?
A couple bones, and I got a couple bones that I'm trying out for that. A lot of it's corian that I just find on job sites.
Oh wow,
which is great because it comes in all colors. Like I got the one I'm building for this guitar. I'm going to use corian, but it looks like granite. It's got like little speckles in it, so that'll just be neat. Having a nut that looks like it's made out of a rock.
Cool.
I think that'll be cool.
Wow.
But yeah, like bridges and hardware. Mojo Tone does a good job with that. They got some economy level ones that are made in the U.S. and then there's Hipshot, which if someone wants, or I'll buy Hipshot for them.
Okay.
But yeah, that'd be for when I'm doing commissions. I'm not just gonna start throwing Hipshots and stuff and hoping it sells.
Right.
Just wait a little bit.
I wonder how a nut file would do with corian. Probably pretty good, right?
Oh, it does just fine. Yeah. That's actually in Luthery school when we were doing our acoustic setups. Most of that's making a new nut and saddle. That's majority of what we use is corian because it doesn't. Part of it's because it's cheaper than bone and it doesn't smell like bone. Because working with bone smells gross.
Yeah, and actually, I was talking with someone the other day that it was on my podcast. We were talking about the inconsistencies of bone. Bone is a fibrous organic material. Things like corian are solid and consistent all the way through. So you would never know if you had a bone nut or a saddle that there may be inconsistencies in the grain inside what you're not seeing, and that really could affect tone on the back end.
Yeah,
which is fascinating.
Note in your E string, and every other string's fine.
Absolutely. So, where did you said your inspiration comes from Schecters? Are there other styles that you'd like to explore as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. So I grew up playing. I started playing guitar when I was 10 for youth group at church. It was the majority of the reason, just church songs, all the cowboy chords, simple stuff. And after a while, my guitar teacher was, this is way off what you asked, but it'll get there.
That's okay.
So after a while, he said that I ended up teaching him some things. Like I taught him how to do a pinch harmonic and then just a few other techniques that he didn't know about. And so he referred me to the college jazz professor. He just teaches jazz at the university, North Dakota, the one in Grand Forks. So I went and played for him, and he took me on as a student because it was like a tryout thing. Like, hey, do you know enough for me to teach you, or should you find someone that's not at college level because you're 16? So it ended up being fine. He was like, yeah, I can teach you. You know enough to progress. I ended up going to school there because of that. My grades would not have gotten me into college, but I got into UND on a waiver because of that. So I learned Spanish guitar and jazz there. And the whole time I was still playing metal, right? Because, jazz and metal are kind of the same, just one's clean and one's got some high gain. Otherwise, they're
That's a very good point.
styles.
Very good point.
Both fast. They both have some weird time signatures. And yeah. So there's that, and then the church songs, like that's just kind of all wrapped up into it too, which is just like your basics of figuring stuff out. But within those years, I was playing blues. Never really picked up country. I started listening to country more recently, but I mean, I listen to everything. The music right now is on, I mean, it's EDM and metal kind of, so it's not quite metal. Like, it doesn't really fit on a show with anyone else. So the inspirations for guitars kind of come from whatever. But my not senior year, I get my second year in guitar school, the custom build was a 24 fret electric guitar sized acoustic. And one of the problems that I ran into that was, how is it going to project sound with a body that's the size of a C1 that's smaller than a parlor guitar, right? Like, that's a really small guitar, so it's going to sound weak. So researching it, finding out stuff, there was a luthier that I met from my mom that worked at the hospital. He's a surgeon in Grand Forks, and he builds guitars. He's been using double tops, and specifically using Nomex, that honeycomb stuff.
Oh, sure.
Because your top is so thin, because basically what you do is it's thicker than a veneer, but you basically just veneer both sides of that Nomex, and then that's how you make your top. Part of the problem with that is you have to epoxy it onto the Nomex, and you have to get your radius into that epoxy. Wow. So when you brace it, it's just kind of there for more reasons. Like, it still does its bracing job, but a lot of it's like, you have epoxy in a honeycomb pattern, not much is going to let that go. You have a very reinforced, pretty stiff, very lightweight top when you make double tops. So I made that guitar with the double top, and then I put one of those K&K transducer pickups in it with the three deals on the bridge plate. When it's plugged in, it's almost like there's too much low end, which is kind of backwards for traditionally people that study the tones. A bigger body makes a deeper, low end, boomy guitar.
That's true. That's very true.
When it's plugged in,
found
it doesn't seem to matter.
Right. As long if you have an EQ going, you can level it out. But you're right. It's very deep and resonating.
Yeah. And that one, if I plug it in, I definitely need to use an EQ. But it's also a neat guitar because it's a 17 to the body acoustic. So it's literally like an electric. It feels like it, like it's just a little deeper, you know, because it's not a flat, tiny electric size body. But yeah, it's a neat guitar. I got to try out a Florentine cutaway on that. That went well. That was fun to do.
Very cool.
Out of Brazilian tiger wood. I think it was a Sitka spruce top and then a maple neck.
Do you still have that guitar today? Is it sitting up in your house?
I do. It was a rush project. Most of if you go to guitar school, right, get all your material as fast as you can. Because otherwise you're going to be sitting there making dumb stuff, waiting for your material to get there. And you just don't have time to build. So I rushed a lot of things in school. I did well enough to pass, but I'm not selling those guitars. I know what I want to, because I mean, they're the first guitars that I made. I want to keep them.
Guitar Garage Talk is brought to you by YourGuitarMechanic.com. Setups, repairs, restrings, and more. Whatever your guitar or bass needs, we can get it done. Offering pickup and delivery service in the greater Charlotte, North Carolina area. YourGuitarMechanic.com. Now, back to the program.
And yeah, so that acoustic, that little dinky one that I made that booms like crazy, that'll be one of the main ones I try to recreate when I start making acoustics again.
Oh, very cool.
I still have the plans for them, so I can make it again. I just need the tools to make it again.
Oh, very cool.
So, yeah.
So the Red Wing program, is it strictly a 2-year program and you're done, or are there more advanced levels and different years?
It's just 2 years. I know I don't know if he's still planning on this, but our finishing instructor took a sabbatical over the summer to build guitar amps. And I was hoping at some point he'd have an extension class on building tube amps, because I think that'd be sweet, dude. Like,
no doubt. And God help you if you had to make an entirely made in the USA tube amplifier.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's hard enough to find potentiometers, what?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, you can't get tubes that are made in the US. I'm pretty sure no one makes it here anymore.
Is this an untapped market? Are potentiometers made in America an untapped market? I mean, you know, is it?
Yeah.
There's a million wild constructions out there made by these little boutique shops and kick-ass wild pickups that haven't been around since the 40s and 50s. And companies are bringing them all back to life, like this whole retro movement, you know, this vintage movement. Why can't there be shops out there making, you know, tubes? And I mean, it's baffling to the mind why someone hasn't picked up on these lost opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, they're still making a ton of paper and oil caps. And we know now, like, there's people that argue this, and if you A/B caps, I mean, a cap is a cap. They do the same thing. They're all you can get an Emerson capacitor and spend, I think they're $20 each, or you can get these little, I think they're Mallory ones. I don't remember what I got. I got them on Mojo Tone. I researched those. Those are made in the US.
Okay.
They sound the same. If it's the same, the quality and the life of it might change.
Okay.
If you get a cheaper cap, it might not last as long.
I'm assuming that you've investigated having a product that you get to put a label on it that says "Made in the USA." Is that is there certain hoops that you have to jump through to get actual federal? You know what I mean? Or are you just allowed to say "Made in the USA"? What you know?
Yeah.
Maybe one component like my potentiometer isn't, but my guitar is made in the USA, quote unquote.
Yeah, I think there should be at least rules somehow. I don't know how they'd enforce it, because I guess there's rules on what you can say your product is, regardless of what it is or isn't. Like, you can't say I'm selling a microwave and it's actually a toaster, whatever. You know, like that kind of difference. Like, you have to be accurate with your product. But most of my, like, I'll tell people, like what I said about the potentiometers. I'm like, that's not, I couldn't find these. I don't know if they're made in the US. It could be, from what I found out, that they're not, but everything else is. And that inspiration for the American made came from a company called Origin Maine. It's a guy named Jocko Willink. And Pete, I forgot his other name, but Jocko's got this podcast. He was a Navy SEAL and he writes leadership books, right? And he plugs their company a lot. They're making clothes and goods that are made in the US. So, like, they make pants. Their jeans are cotton that's grown in the US. All their looms they got were from like the 30s or 40s that just people stopped making or using when we started outsourcing stuff. Now, they started outsourcing later, in like the 80s, I think, but he kind of just went and picked up these looms and figured out how they work, and now he's making clothes in the US. He's got a pair of boots. He said there's one part of the boot that's not made in the US, but they're working on getting someone to make it. But they're also a major company and have that kind of pull. They can find someone. So I guess if anyone out there makes potentiometers, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Please. And again, Kyle, if you sign up for the Looth Group, I'm telling you, man, they have Luthathons, I think they call them. It's just a daily gathering, and there's guys in their shop. They'll set up their phone or their laptop in the corner, go about working, and you log in, and it's the quietest group. But you ask a question, you've got 5 different answers, and they're from all over the world. And there's always an answer. And I'll tell you what, every so often you'll catch Dan Erlewine roaming around in there too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I got a couple of his books.
Absolutely. Me too. The guys, I was trying to explain to my wife when I got into this. I'm like, okay, so Dan Erlewine, how do I explain Dan Erlewine? He's like the Obi-Wan Kenobi of guitar. I mean, literally.
That's a good description of him.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's like, Dan Erlewine.
He knows everything about fixing that stuff.
Absolutely.
He literally wrote the repair book on fixing guitars.
That's right. And I've actually, on several occasions, thought about just sending my credit card to StuMac and just asking if I can keep a running tab. I mean, for God's sake, I don't know how many times I order from StuMac.
Yeah, that StuMax is a great deal.
It's like a kid in a candy store.
You'll be doing something. You're like, oh yeah, I need this, and then send it out, and then 20 minutes later, you put that order in, and then you're like, oh, I need more parts.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't have that, you're paying shipping twice for 2 different things that could be in the same box.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it's like $70 a year or something like that.
It's not bad at all. It's not bad at all.
Definitely pays for itself if you're buying parts all the time.
And the guys in the fulfillment center are like, this guy again? I just sent out a package.
Yeah. They start remembering your name.
That's right. I know they know my name. Leaving me I'm surprised they're not leaving little notes in the box like, hey, Patrick, how's it going?
Sweetwater does and put candy in there for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. They should. I love that about Sweetwater. I usually, if I'm going to buy 5 things in my cart, I break it up into 5 different orders so I get 5 different bags of candy.
I got a new tool I haven't gotten to use yet. It's their StuMax Z file for crowning frets.
Beautiful.
I'm really excited to use it.
I've heard good things.
It's sitting there. It's a different color than all my nut files because it's new and hasn't been used. And I'm so excited to use it. And this guitar that I'm building, the one that with this fingerboard and neck there, that one's going to be a semi-hollow body Les Paul style. So kind of like the Epiphone Wildcat. Gibson makes another one of those. I don't know what it is. I have an Epiphone Wildcat. That's why I say that.
Yeah.
And it's semi-hollow body Les Paul shape. And I'm doing that one out of this maple that my buddy gave me. It came from a tree that was grown in Fargo, and he's just has these chunks of logs in his yard. Wondering like, hey, could you use this for a guitar? And I look at it and like, yeah, it's maple, man. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So I got this little thing. It's just completely changed topics, but I got this Ryobi chainsaw over here that works with the battery that I can use in my house, and I've been milling these blocks of wood down with the chainsaw. So I think one of the posts that I put up right after you got a hold of me was me book matching this piece of wood with a chainsaw.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah. That was your last post. And I'm like, I swear to God, his next post is going to be a severed finger.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I'm kidding. I was streaming on Twitch for a while. And my internet hasn't been good enough to stream. So I'm kind of surprised this call has been going as well as it has. But whenever I'm trying to stream, it usually drops it. And I was thinking about it one day, thinking, maybe I might get flagged. Because one thing that makes Northman Guitars unique is my blood is in every one of them. So you get a part of me when you get one of my guitars. I've not built a guitar yet that I haven't bled into at some point.
Oh man, I'll bet that's funny you mentioned that because I just saw James Hetfield when Lemmy passed away. Lemmy, when he passed away, he had his ashes put in bullet casings and he sent them out to all his favorite people. And James Hetfield got one of them. James Hetfield recently went to a tattoo artist had some of Lemmy's ashes mixed with tattoo ink, and he got an ace of spades tattooed on his middle finger. So he has a little bit of Lemmy inside of his finger. I've never heard anything like that, but it's kind of cool.
No, I've heard of people doing ashes, but I wonder, do you think there might have been gunpowder mixed in there tue?
Oh, dude, yeah, that'd be wow. All he has to do is take a little cigarette lighter to it.
Yeah. That's another thing that I'll do in this other room is reload ammo. And
okay.
You don't always get those casings as clean as you want them on the inside.
So gotcha.
Unless you're using new brass, there's a little bit of gunpowder in there.
Good point. Have you ever thought about, since you've got woodworking tools there and some awesome wood, do you make gun stocks or anything to that effect?
Yeah, I haven't made any yet, but I've been thinking about it because most of that is walnut.
Oh, we're right, yeah.
Walnut. And almost all of that came from my grandpa. He used to turn bowls over in East Grand Forks. He died 5 years ago, 6 maybe. And that's where all these tools were his. That's when I started building, because then I had all the tools that I needed. So yeah, and wood. Like this neck that I made is all wood that came from him. So it's easier to start building now because I have some backstock tools.
Very cool, man.
I forgot why I brought that up, but the gun stocks, walnut. That's a good gun stock wood. So
okay,
I was thinking about doing that, and then I just got this tried and true oil that I'm excited to use because I don't like spraying nitro lacquer. It messes up my brain. So when I was in guitar school, I got sleep paralysis a lot. I think it was from that lacquer that we were using.
Interesting.
So that lacquer is some nasty stuff, man. Like it'll
no doubt
brain up. And I forgot what podcast it was. It might have been Michael Dashkin's, that Luthier on Luthier. I'm pretty sure it's when he was talking to Jeff Jewett, the finishing guy. And I think it was that episode, but he was talking about people have reported just having weird dreams. And then it clicked. I was like, oh, I bet that's what it was. It was probably all that nitro I was inhaling because I was bad at using my mask at the right times. Like, it's definitely my fault. Nothing on the school. That's all me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just don't really want to be doing that here anymore. So the last few that I made, I used the Varathane water-based, and I just hand applied that poly.
And then put some gloves on and use as much precaution as possible.
I used the mask, like that mask sitting there. And I used gloves. But I guess this tried and true finish, it's just linseed oil and beeswax.
Oh, perfect.
You can eat off of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm excited to use that for some guitars, see how it turns out, see if it's durable or whatnot. How it buffs out.
How about replication? I mean, as soon as you finish this guitar, you're going to give it a name. You're going to give it an identity. You're going to like what you did. Are you going to replicate it? Or are you going to keep producing it?
Yeah, that one I'm thinking I'm going to do. I got to figure out a name. Since I got a Nordic name, kind of pigeonholed there. But I was thinking of doing like a Warhammer guitars or something like that, and using a bunch of military weapons as names for guitars. So like M240 Bravo would be a 7-string, then like M16 would be a 6-string, then M2 would be like a bass or something like that.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a cool idea.
Military weapons that are all different counts. And yeah.
So I was cross between military and Nordic.
Yeah. And I guess I still could do that. But
okay.
I don't know. I'm still working on figuring that out.
The Vikings were a very warring civilization for sure. Those two would very much combine. I can see that.
Guitar Garage Talk is brought to you by YourGuitarMechanic.com. Setups, repairs, restrings, and more. Whatever your guitar or bass needs, we can get it done. Offering pickup and delivery service in the greater Charlotte, North Carolina area. YourGuitarMechanic.com. Now, back to the program.
Do you follow, you said you follow a bunch of podcasts about guitars and such. Do you, as someone who's just stepping your foot into the industry, do you see the industry changing? I mean, you went to school 10 years ago. It's probably changed since you went to school. And if so, what are those changes? What is it modernizing? Is it, I mean,
it's kind of doing both at the same time. There's, like you said, there's that whole vintage market that's kind of coming back. A lot of relicking going on now. And there was a lot going on when I was in school, and now it's just rampant.
Yeah.
CNCs are really, I mean, those have been taken off for a while, but it seems like I just see more and more of it every time that I do this. And then just designs in general, right? Like, so when a Telly came out, it looked futuristic. It looked kind of like a spaceship at the time, right? Now it looks like a grand.
Yeah.
But when it came out, they were like, wow, that's the future.
So you're right. It's going both ways. It's changing more towards vintage, but it's also, there's a whole sect and group that are changing towards more modern as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And good thing. The handcrafted thing, there's an artistic attraction there that's undeniable. Yeah.
Well, and yeah, like, so I say handcrafted. That guy you had on last week,
Rector?
I'm not doing that level of handcrafted. Yeah. Like I use planes and everything, but I'm using a chainsaw too. So
there you go.
Same. But like I cut all my front slots by hand, but that's mainly because my table saw is not that great. I don't want to switch blade that much. And yeah, there's certain things that I have to do by hand that are creative out of necessity. I don't have the tools to do it otherwise. Like my fret slotting jig I made out of Melamine boards. So the cabinet shelves, that kind of wood, I made a jig out of it for that. Yeah, it's over there. I was wondering if you could see it. I wrote an inappropriate name on it.
Is it did you post it on your that's the fingerboard taperizer. I see that on there.
Yeah, I wrote the other name on it after.
Ah, okay. All right.
Out in the public, but if you end up in my shop, you get to see it. What it is later. It's just I don't want to say it.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll
do you find yourself because tools are a costly thing for a repair guy, for a builder. Do you find yourself, as a repair guy, everyone that I've talked to has these little jigs and rigs and little makeshift things that they create just to try and get one task done. And do you find yourself doing that a lot as a builder?
Yeah. I'm looking around because I got all my tools right behind me, or right behind you. So this deal, we made this in school. And it's just got a wing nut and a bolt, right? It's these two pieces of wood here come apart. You got that little notch in there. It's for holding a nut on a belt sander.
Well, son of a gun.
Yeah. Makes sanding and crowning your nut way easier. So
absolutely.
I've made a bunch of weird little jigs. Some of them don't work and they end up in the fire pit in the spring. Some of them I just keep just to remember, oh yeah, I did that and it didn't work and now it's here. So
yeah.
Some of them you think it'll be a good idea and you got to keep it around as a reminder that that idea didn't work. And I know you're going to forget that it didn't work and try to do it again. So here's the reason why it didn't work and hang the little piece that's fucked up because of it.
Yeah.
And on that broken jig that didn't work out for you.
Yeah. Or the drops of blood that came off your finger when you're close to the belt sander or something. And have you thought about mass producing, say, that device there? And so,
no, because that was from school.
Okay. Well, if you do a couple
guitars.
little
So if you go
tweaks to it,
Redneck-
it's your own design, right?
Well, if I change it, but I'm not going to change it. Thing's awesome.
Okay. Whatever
There's
works.
no reason to change it.
Yeah, exactly.
And they might have got that out of someone else's repair book.
That's very true. Yeah.
I haven't looked into it. I don't think I've created anything that ingenious.
Hmm.
Because I mean, I see a new jig like every day where you're like, oh, huh, that's pretty cool. Like I saw one, this guy had a planer jacked up on the side, like this little finger planer, like these little ibex ones. He had one of these on a block that had a 45 cut into it, and there's a cross section for this. And it was to bevel the edge of some piece of wood at a perfect 45 with this little blade. I don't see a reason to mass produce that, because if you see it, well, you can just make that.
Well, that's a good point.
What are you doing using it if you can't make it? So
Are your necks going to be bolt on or glue on?
I've done both. I like bolt-ons more, and then the settle in and letting it change, and like you don't really need to do a neck reset with a bolt-on. Because I've never got a neck reset on a Strat. I put shims in it, but I've never.
Yeah,
that would be a neck reset, but it's not nearly as invasive. And I don't think there's a whole lot of tone loss. Some people say it doesn't sustain as well, but I mean, you're putting up 4 screws in there that are real tight. I'm not seeing any resonance loss out of that. If anything, it'd be the reason I think one of the reasons the Strat doesn't resonate like a Gibson Les Paul. The Strat's made out of basswood. It's not a very resonant wood, or pine. You know, they're all a little bit, but they're those light woods.
Right.
So
right. And that's kind of you get the tone of the Les Paul, but good God, you get the weight. So there's kind of that trade-off, right? What do you deal with?
Yeah, and then you get the chambered one, and then it's a little bit different. It doesn't quite feel the same or sound the same, but
well, that's a good point. Not only that, but the balance doesn't feel right. When you get a chambered Les Paul, you're like, this doesn't feel. It doesn't have that meat that I'm used to feeling when I grab it. You know.
Yeah, because like when you put a Les Paul on, you should feel it in your knees. It's usually where
that's right.
Your lower back and your knees. Like you can tell you're holding the guitar. Or like a Strat, you kind of forget you have it.
Yeah. I was thinking about classic guitarists, because I'm a classic rock guy, and how many Les Paul converts out there that used to play Gibsons and switched over to Strats because they were getting older. And you know what? If I keep playing Les Pauls, I'm going to have to have a professional chiropractor on the road.
Yeah. Or even like a Charvel or just something that's not a Les Paul.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I have one Les Paul. I don't have a Gibson Les Paul. Like I said, I can't afford a bending iron, so I'm not buying a Gibson Les Paul. But I have a Harmony Les Paul. It's an H90. It was the first electric guitar that I ever had. And it's a lot lighter than a Les Paul is. But I've changed it and done so much to it that it plays really well. And it sounds great because I swapped the pickups out. And yeah, that thing's awesome. I was just looking at it today thinking, I just bought an orange amp. Got a new guitar amp for my living room. I think that's the first guitar I'm going to play through. It's this old piece of shit Harmony guitar.
There you go. That's exactly right. And it's interesting to note that how many songs out there, great recordings that we hear today, that we don't realize it was a crappy little Harmony in the corner of the studio, and the producer went, pick that one up over there, and I think you're going to get the tone we're looking for, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's very true.
Like just the hardware in it goes a very long way. And I mean, you can set up most guitars if they're made okay. You can set it up to play almost however you want it to.
Good point.
So it's kind of
very good point.
up to the player to make it sound like the way it should.
I complete every episode asking everyone, what 3 guitar tunes would you put on your Desert Island Guitar mixtape?
Yeah.
And a lot of people have put like, and I'm blown away at how much research this answer. I mean, people have been consulting their friends and family. It's like, is it really? I'm glad people are taking the time, but you don't really have to.
Yeah, no, I haven't been obsessing over it. I knew about it, but I'd say Blues Deluxe by Joe Bonamassa.
Nice.
That guitar playing never gets old to me. That it's just.
He's got an amazing tone.
So, yeah. And his voice is just, it's like, it doesn't look like him singing. You see him and you're like, that doesn't add up. That's not the voice coming out of that guy.
Yeah.
He looks like he'd sound like he's selling calculators.
That's a good point.
Doesn't quite look like he sings blues the way he does.
And I have to say, Kyle, that's a very good point, because I think he's highly underrated as a blues singer too, because everyone sees him as this guitarist, but he does have a great voice.
Good all around. It's kind of like Prince. Just good at all of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Good at all of it, though. He's making movies too. Now it makes me think I should probably put Prince on that list, because I live in Minnesota.
Oh.
Yeah.
God help you if you don't.
So yeah, I can't think of any of his songs because I don't listen to his music that much. I never really liked 80s pop a whole lot, and I wish he would have played some other stuff in 80s pop. Because there's that video of him playing While My Guitar Gently Weeps. He kind of just shows up out of nowhere and just rips it, and then he throws his guitar and disappears. And you're like, what was that? Just Prince? What just happened?
Yeah. It's like a microphone drop. It just kind of I'm done.
Yeah.
And it was that poor little Telecaster too,
Yeah. Yeah, and he just annihilated that solo, man. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But no, I'd say, could I pick an album?
Please. Absolutely. I had a guy. Look, I work on guitars, but I'm really a drummer at heart. I'm going to pick 3 drum tunes. Whatever. Pick an album.
Oh, yeah. All right. So you might not know this one, but it's Allegiance by As Blood Runs Black. And that album, I think it came out in 2006 or something. It's metal, if you can't tell by their name. It never gets old, man. Like, it is just so good. I listen. Is that
a twin guitar album or one guitarist?
Yeah, it's 2 guitars, bass, drummer, vocalist. I'm not gonna say singer because he doesn't sing. It's vocalist.
Okay.
But yeah, it's that kind of before that gent stuff took off with metal. It's not quite progressive. It's after thrash metal. It's just good, man.
Okay, I got to check it out. I got to check it out.
Get some stuff done and fight a mountain. That's what you put on. That's what I put on.
Okay, excellent.
And then honestly, the other song would be Asturias by Isaac Albeniz. Whatever. I don't know how to say his name. I only read it on the top of the sheet music page, but it's a Spanish song that is wild. I think the episode where the guy that played at your wedding.
Oh, David Nadeau.
I think he said that song too.
Son of a gun. And when you heard that, you're like, yep, I completely agree.
And I was like, yeah, I played that for one of my final tests at UND.
Wow.
And I learned how to play that song, which was wild.
Fantastic. Well, geez, you've got a full mixtape for sure, man.
Yeah. Do you have an answer for that question?
Thanks for asking, man. I know, and people have asked that before, and God dang it, now I'm going to have to sit on it for a week and think about it. Well, Hendrix is on there because when I was a kid, I listened to Kiss. I mean, I'm talking my first record album was a Kiss album when I was 10 years old. and it was Love Gun. And I'd have to say, you know what? I'm going to throw that on there.
For a 10-year-old.
When they, yeah. And so I'm going to throw that on there just for fun, because I'm sure, since you're not the first person to ask, I'm going to get asked this a lot. I'm going to change it up every time someone asks me. So I'm going to put Kiss Shock Me, because I think Ace Frehley blew my mind open as a kid. I'm like, that sounds like fun. Yeah, it's super simple tunes. You can sing along, and these guys are having fun. They've got mystery. They've got this makeup. And when I was a kid, it was a big deal. Like, who's behind the makeup? What do they really look like? And the tabloids loved it, right? And that really added to it. So I'm going to say Shock Me on the Love Gun album. And then when it came to, and then suddenly one day I heard Wind Cries Mary on the radio. And I'm like, Dad, okay, we're sitting in the car. And I was like, Dad, who's this? He's like, oh, that's Jimi Hendrix. Wow, who? And my mind was like, that is the most sweetest, beautiful song. It didn't have to be this in-your-face rock and roll. And I was just, you know what? That was a whole new, suddenly there's a new gateway open. And I went into exploring classic rock more. And then since you and I were, I mentioned Brian May earlier, I'm a huge Queen fan, because they broke open the music door and said, here's what you can do. And their first 7 or 8 albums, they made a specific line on every album that said, no synthesizers were used in this recording. And so everything was done with, 16 tracks, probably 24, just looping. And, when you hear Bohemian Rhapsody, that was an art form in itself, piecing it together in the studio. So I'm gonna go ahead and say Brian May, Bohemian Rhapsody. Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody. Okay. That would be my 3 choices, man. Thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was thinking of Little Wing too. Either Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan, because both are just fantastic.
Oh, phenomenal. And even though Stevie, I'm a huge Stevie Ray Vaughan fan too, man. And when he remade Hendrix, he made it his own. Definitely. Yeah. When I watch him do Austin City Limits and he's doing Voodoo Child Slight Return live, that is a way different Voodoo Child Slight Return than Hendrix did. They stand on their own, and it's just phenomenal. Yeah, phenomenal. Yeah, agreed. Kyle, thank you so much, man. I'm following your Instagram. I'm looking forward to seeing your guitar in its final stages. I want to see you plug it into that orange amp and give us a demo on your account, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing your progress. I wish you the very best of luck. It's not an easy business to jump into, I'm sure. And the approach you're taking is admirable, hands-on construction, entirely made in the USA. You've put a mountain ahead of you, and I look forward to seeing you climb that mountain and get to the top and just hold that axe up and say, boom, the product that I dreamed of is right here. I look forward to it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. It was very nice. I've never been on a podcast, so this is really interesting. And I'm really excited about that. Playing through, I haven't gotten to play through that amp yet, and I just picked it up today, so nice. We know what I'm going to do right after this.
Yeah, there you go, man. Have fun with it for sure.
Yeah.
What effects? As a player, what effects do you use?
Almost none. I have a wah pedal on my board. Got an overdrive on there, which are pretty standard, I would say. Loop pedal. Loopers are just fun.
Oh,
there's one band that I was in college that was like the backbone of our music, because it was just me and a drummer, and I didn't sing, right? I don't like singing, so we just loop stuff, and I kind of just dick around with it, and people still came to our shows. So
nice.
Yeah, you can loop stuff with one other dude and start a band. So yeah, loop pedal. And then I have a Boss harmonizer on there that I don't use a whole lot. I don't like it.
Yeah.
That's about it.
What brand of wah-wah do you use?
Just a Dunlop Crybaby.
Oh, I got you. Oh, so it's a Crybaby.
Classic, easy, basic wah pedal. And then I have a Splon Nitro tube amp. That was the amp that I had, that I was using before this orange came in. And that Splon Nitro, it's a 100-watt tube amp, right? It's a little overkill for in my house.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get something that goes from 15 or 7 watts, and I can manage that. That's actually okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that Splon Nitro, man, if you like Marshalls, Splon, they do a fantastic job. I think he's in your state.
Really? He's in Dallas, North Carolina. Dallas is actually yeah, it's only like 35 miles away from Charlotte, where I'm at.
You should interview him, Scott Splon.
Dude, that's a great idea. I'll tell you, man, some of these guys are just busy as snot. And every time I reach out to them, they're like, I'd love to, man, but wow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and he's
building
amps and guitars, so you might not have time, but
he has guitars, huh? Amps and cabs, guitars. Yeah, sure enough. Man, I'll check him out. Very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Beautiful guitars.
Yep.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks, man. Kyle, I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Kyle, take care, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right.
Adios.